Oh, it's hot. It's so hot. Okay, so last night I was having a dream, and it took place in my childhood neighborhood, or my hometown, my childhood home. And in the dream, I think I was on the ground or I was on the couch and I was sleeping, and I was in a sleeping bag. And I was in the living room with my mother, my mama, and she was just there. She wasn't really saying much. She wasn't doing anything, but she was like communicating to me like telepathically, and she just was trying to tell me like, stay calm, don't don't react to anything. But then in the dream, there was this white family that came into our house, and I was just like watching TV or something, like cartoons. Like that's usually how it was, like in the mornings or like midday. I'd be watching TV, cartoons or whatever. There was this like the family was right there in the living room, somewhere in the living room, like in the midst of like the house that we were in, and there was this like emo girl that was there. If any of you remember like emo scene hair, this girl had like emo hair. It was platinum blonde, and she had dyed like designs into it. She had dyed like hair bows and crossbones into her hair, like with hair dye. She like painted it in her hair and dyed it, and it was like permanently in her hair. And she was there, and I was like, oh wow. In the dream, I was like, oh hey, I like your hair. That's so cool. And then she looks over at me like a glance, but she moves her head the opposite direction and takes 2 steps forward, closer to her family. And then she mumbled, "Thank you." And then I was like, why is she like not looking at me? She's not looking at me. She's like moving away from me. And then I was like, hey, how'd you do your hair? I asked her in the dream, like, how'd you do your hair? Like, how'd you do that? And she kept like turning the other way, like kind of giving me cold shoulder and facing her family. She would like kept getting closer to her family, just kind of like showing like signs of like discomfort. But like in the dream, I felt like I was a child. And so I didn't understand why she was uncomfortable if I was my younger, child self, like why is she uncomfortable around the child? That was kind of like what I was thinking. But I knew that I wasn't in my grown like adult body that I'm in now, because the sleeping bag I was in was like tiny, it was little, and it was the same one that I had used to sleep in when I was a kid. And I get upset because I can sense that she's like trying to avoid me and ignore me. And I think that like I just didn't handle the rejection very well, or understand that she was setting a boundary with me. And I was like, how come you're not talking to me? I asked her in the dream, like, how come you're not talking to me? Like, how come like you don't want to talk to me? And she said, you're making me uncomfortable. She said to me, you're making me uncomfortable, and I want you to leave. And I didn't understand why she was telling me to leave, but I also didn't understand, like, why is this family in our home? Like, this family is in our home. They're just randomly standing in our home, and she's telling me to leave. Like, she's uncomfortable. And I'm trying to think inside the dream, like, are they trying to buy our home? Are they renting this home? Are we supposed to be moving out? And the whole time I'm looking at my mom, but my mom doesn't say anything. And my mom is just quiet. And in the dream, this girl, she continued to tell me, get out of the house. I don't want you here. You're making me uncomfortable. Like, and so I tell my mom, like, hey, they're telling us to get out. My mom still doesn't say anything. And then the emo girl, she says to me again, I'm not telling you guys to get out. I'm telling you to get out. Like, I want you to get out. Go, get out. But the entire time that she's saying this, she still has her head turned away. And like I could see her hair, the emo scene hair. She's got her head turned away. She's giving me cold shoulder, but she's talking at me. But she's like, I want you to get out and go. She's not even doing hand gestures at me. She's not even like looking at me. But she's talking to me in the dream. And so I look at my mother, and my mom doesn't say anything still. And I'm like upset that my mom isn't saying anything. Because in the dream, I'm kind of looking towards my mom for like safety and comfort, but my mom is like not responsive. My mom is just sitting there. She's not doing anything. And so like I'm upset, and I'm like feeling misunderstood in the dream. Like I'm misunderstanding like what's going on, what's happening. Um, my younger self is like feeling like rejected and pushed away, and like feels like the other person is just being mean to me. So I get up and I leave and I go out to I leave the house and I start walking through my old neighborhood where I used to live. And I remember I passed through my neighborhood and they still had the street lights that were beaming like a neon bright orange color. And it was nighttime and it was raining. And the streets were black and wet and reflecting like the orange light that was coming from the street lights. And I was walking, and then I ended up walking down this long road. And I remember this long strip road that was in my neighborhood. It led all the way to the library, and on both sides of this long road was like woods and trees and like a foresty area. This was before they started these like new home developments that they probably have going on right now. Or when I was a kid, it was just like trees and forests and creek, and like it was all gated, and like you couldn't go in there because it was just woods. But I was walking down this street, like this long road, and somehow I crossed the street and I was able to bypass traffic, and I climbed through the fence and I was in this like woodsy creek area, that was closed off. And I remember like taking my sleeping bag and feeling upset and sad and like pushed away. And I was in this forest, this like dark forest that was like, in the same area that I'm talking about. And I found a spot to sit down and I set my sleeping bag down, and I fell asleep there. I fell asleep in the dark, and then I woke up because it was raining. The rain like started to like really trickle down and started to pour down, and I woke up because I was getting like drenched and wet and cold. And I was looking around me and I saw like parts of like the woodsy area. It was just like cold, a dark ground, and lots of trees and foliage and stuff, and some pieces of garbage were on the ground too. So I understood that there was probably other people that would go to this area. I got up and I left, and I tried to walk down that same road that led me there. And I was walking down that road, and I just remember feeling like abandoned and sad and betrayed and alone. And I kept thinking about my mother, and I was like, why is my mother not talking to me? Why did my mother not say anything to me? Like, she didn't stand up for me. I feel like my mom, she should have protected me in that moment. Like when, somebody was talking to me that way in front of other people, like there was like a group of people in there, the family, and then my family was in there. And I felt like that was, to me as a kid, that's a lot of people. To be in a room full of people, two different families. As a kid, that feels like a lot of people. So I felt like I was being embarrassed in front of a lot of people when, the emo girl was talking to me that way. And I continued to feel that way. And I just remember thinking about my mom. I'm like, my mom, she didn't like stand up. She didn't like comfort me in that situation. She didn't like explain to me why, I was told to get out, or why I was being told to leave. And I kept walking home while it was raining, feeling that way. And I tried to find my home, and I couldn't find my home. It was dark. It continued to rain, and I continued to see different sets of street lights that were just beaming those fluorescent orange